17 points, facing a possible fourth straight loss with what looked like another day of that offense just struggling. And then something happened in the second half. It's like they flipped a switch. Well, now a report came out yesterday saying Ben Roethlisberger started calling plays that, quote, weren't in the game plan during the second half comeback. So, James, what do you make of the report?
I think it was a thing where Juju and the players were, showing that Ben was, being a great leader, and he was, instilling confidence in them and asking Juju, hey, we didn't run this in practice, but, could you do this right here? And I think now it's turned, or is going to have the ability to turn into, why is it that he had to change all this? What are the coaches doing? What is the OC doing that they can't see it, but he can, and then he has to go out here and basically save the team. It's another one of those 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. And in Pittsburgh, it's going to go like it should go. Like Ben did what was necessary to help the team win, and he made adjustments in game. And the way, they're saying it, it's like he just went out there and just started calling whatever he wanted. He didn't, have any input. So whatever the game plan was that they did all week, it was no longer valid because, he decided that it was better to go another route. So I'm happy that they got the win, but I don't really know in what spirit it was done in.
So, James, let me ask you this question. Is this an isolated issue, or is this an issue with Big Ben over the past X amount of years that he's been there, right? Because a couple weeks ago when they started this losing streak, there was reports that start coming out that Big Ben was changing the plays. All right. And also, you go back to AB. One of the gripes that AB had, Antonio Brown, was Big Ben is a guy that do what he want to do in the organization. He's not held accountable. So is this an isolated issue, or is this a Big Ben issue that's been there?
I don't feel like it's a issue. I feel it's things that have to happen or has happened in game situations where he has made a decision that you're out there playing. When I played for Dick LeBeau, this was the big thing. He was like, I'm calling defense from the sideline. I'm not out there watching you guys play. So if it's something out there that you guys think can work better, let me know. I'll call it. But Dick LeBeau had the insight to be able to see things from the sideline. He didn't even use the call sheet. He would sit there and just, wow, okay, we're going to run this right here. And he didn't even use a call sheet. So his knowledge of his defenses and what he was looking at was tremendous. And we also had free will to, if we felt like we saw something or we had an opportunity to make a play, to do something else. You had times where you had Troy Polamalu jump over the line. A lot of those times, Troy's had deep third. He wasn't even supposed to be up there.
Yeah, I played in some of those games.
So, yeah. Right. So, and even going back to, my play in the Super Bowl, I was supposed to rush. But at that point in time, I felt like we weren't getting there, in enough time. And he was just getting rid of the ball. So I said, I'm going to drop, play for the quick slant in. And, the rest is history. I think what we have there is Ben doing the best he can in, situations to try and get his team wins. And right now, that's what he did. Over the course of, December, the team itself has been, declining, so to speak. And the loss of, defensive players, you got the defense not really playing up to the standard that's necessary, especially against teams with subpar offenses, like Cincinnati and Washington. And then you have the offense, and Big Ben, like he said, he hasn't been playing well in December. I think he has something like 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 3 of them touchdowns came in last week. So the good thing is, by the second half, he ended up getting it fixed. They ended up getting it fixed and getting a win. He threw 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The bad thing is it took them a whole half before they were able to do it. And like I said, flip it again, they got the win. So getting wins in December and heading into January.
They had to get the win. It was huge. Listen, getting the win. I gave Ben yesterday Player of the Week. I thought, given the comeback, the situation, they can now rest people in Week 17. The Colts desperately needed the game, and the Steelers took it from them. So I was really giving the Steelers a bunch of credit. But Wild, so often the story is not the story. The story is why are we hearing about the story? And to me, to use, I know Wild's your favorite Latin phrase, cui bono, who benefits?
Yep.
The same person that always benefits whenever there's a Steelers leak. Ben. Like, all throughout history, it is, whenever there's something going on in the Steelers locker room, it is Big Ben looks good and someone else doesn't. Why don't you run QB sneaks? I don't know. The coach won't let me anymore. What happened with the anthem? Why were people coming out? No, I want to just be out there, but the Tomlin screwed that up. What's going on with the offense this year? Well, it was all screwed up, and then I took it over. Like, it's always the same thing. It's always that all of a sudden a little birdie came out and was like, guess what? You know who saved the day? It's Big Ben. Pass it on. Like that is what happens.
Ben wasn't the first birdie that came out. He just had to answer for what, his players were saying. So if he had came out initially by himself, I would have been like, okay, maybe it's, it's a little.
Instead, he tells his teammate, instead he, I don't know, again, I'm speculating, Wilds, that he maybe, puts it in the ear of his TikTok superstar famous talk-a-lot teammate, Juju. And shockingly, Juju told somebody. Juju tells everybody everything. Like, come on. It doesn't take a Matlock to figure this one out. Like, we know, Wilds, this is how it goes in Pittsburgh.
But who cares? But if you win the game, it doesn't matter. It's not like Daniel Jones is out there changing plays. It's fine. It's Big Ben. That's what his legacy buys you. Well, James, the more concerning thing for me, rather than changing, freestyling, is the fact that the Steelers had 5 yards rushing over 3 quarters. Yeah. Do you think, and if Big Ben is changing every play to no, I'm going to throw the ball again. Do you think that the lack of a run game eventually bites the Steelers?
Yes, that's something they're going to have to improve on. They're dead last right now in the run game. The offense needs to start doing a little bit better job of opening up holes. And if you go into, December, January playoff football, and you get into situations where the weather is not what you need it to be, you have to be able to run the ball. And, not to go back, but that's something that, even looking at Tampa, they're I think 27th, 28th in rush. So you have to be able to do something to change it up. You can't just be doing pass alternative, little dink and dunk passes as run alternative plays, because you can't, progress in running the football.
I think the running game issue is a great point, and I think it could really bite them come the postseason. But, Brandon, I just want to revisit the Big Ben changing the plays thing, because here is the encapsulation of the point I was making. When the Steelers were struggling, hold on, because Brandon had this story, and I think out of loyalty to folks, didn't really push it quite as hard as maybe others would have. When the Steelers' offense was in the mud and they were falling apart, guess what was happening? Brandon reported it 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. Big Ben was changing the plays. And it's got to be reported through secondary sources, but it was happening. Now that they have a big comeback win, Juju tells the NFL Network, Big Ben's changing the plays. He's been doing it. Right? Like, when they were bad, he was doing it. Now they won a game, he's doing it. Like, do I have that timeline correct?
You do have that timeline correct, 100%. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, Big Ben, James, I think I was the only person on television that picked the Pittsburgh Steelers to make it to the Super Bowl, because I believed in the leadership, I believed in the defense, and I thought a healthy Big Ben will get the job done. But now they have real problems. The identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers really hasn't changed in 25 years. Pittsburgh Steelers play amazing defense, zone blitz, correct me if I'm wrong, great in the disguise on the back end, and then on the offensive side, we run the football. And right now, they're not running the football well. I think the Steelers have big issues going into the playoffs. I don't see them beating a Buffalo Bills. I don't see them beating the Kansas City Chiefs, because of the lack of running game.
It's going to be very, very difficult for them to go in there and beat teams like that without being able to have a two-headed monster, so to speak, and have the abilities to have a threat. So now that you can do play action passes and, get get more opportunities to get more passing yards because your run game is effective. And add with that, that they're passing the ball more. They're also number 1 in drops. So now you have a team that's dropping the ball a lot, and they're also passing the ball a lot. So you're putting your defense out there longer now. So their defense is on the field, I believe, anywhere in the last 4 games from 31 to almost 36 minutes. So they're losing time of possession. Why? Because you're passing the ball a lot, because you're having to do run alternative plays. And if that pass is dropped, that stops the clock. And now your defense is out there having to play longer. So the loss of guys like Bush, like Dupree, Spelling, that you've lost is starting to wear on them.
Yep, big deal.
All right, guys, let's take a little turn, play some drawing a blank. We got to talk about the Seahawks. Their defense has come alive after they were getting torched the whole first half of the season. And now safety Jamal Adams said they're not a good defense. They're the best defense in the league. Nick, Jamal Adams saying Seattle